Are you ready for the unexpected? Here we go. Number 1, the Mayan ball game that ended in death. Let's start with a ritual so shocking it feels like a horror movie mixed with the NBA. The ancient Maya played a game called Pak to Pak. Think basketball, but with no backboard, a heavy rubber ball, and the rule that you could only hit the ball with your hips, elbows, and knees. Sounds hard. Now add this twist. Sometimes the losers were sacrificed. Yep, imagine missing a free throw and getting your head cut off. Archaeologists found ball courts across Central America, and carvings show that human sacrifice was tied to the game. Here's the wild debate. Some scholars believe the winners were sacrificed instead. Why? Because the Maya thought being sacrificed was the ultimate honor, like a VIP ticket to the afterlife. So picture this, you train your whole life, win the championship, and your reward is death. That's the kind of thing that makes people argue in the comments. So I'll just ask, would you rather be the winner or the loser in this game? Let me know below. Number 2, sky burials in Tibet. Now, if you thought that was brutal, get ready for ritual number 2. High up in Tibet, people practice something called sky burial. Instead of putting the dead underground, they laid the body on a mountain, cut it into pieces, and let vultures eat it. Yeah. The birds were considered sacred, and feeding them was seen as a final act of generosity. It sounds disturbing to us, but think about it. In the rocky Tibetan plateau, the ground is too hard to dig. Wood for cremation is scarce. So sky burial was practical, spiritual, and even ecological. The body returned to nature and the soul was believed to be free. Now here's a detail you probably didn't know: Buddhist monks would chant prayers while specialized workers called rogyapes carefully cut the body apart. It was done with respect. Families would even watch the ritual, believing it was the ultimate send-off. So ask yourself, which would you prefer for yourself? A coffin 6 feet under, or becoming an all-you-can-eat buffet for vultures? Number 3, the Aztec bloodletting festivals. You've heard of giving blood to save lives? The Aztecs gave blood to keep the sun alive. They believed the gods needed constant nourishment, and that nourishment was human blood. So during festivals, nobles and priests cut themselves with obsidian blades or spiky ropes and let the blood drip onto altars. This wasn't random self-harm. It was a scheduled communal event. Everyone participated, from kings to commoners. Archaeologists have found ceremonial knives stained with blood, and even codices illustrating nobles piercing their tongues and ears. Here's the kicker: they believed that without these rituals, the universe would collapse. Imagine waking up every morning thinking, better poke a hole in myself or the sun won't rise. The really dark part: the Aztecs also sacrificed war captives on a massive scale. Some temples had staircases literally stained with blood. To them, this wasn't cruelty. It was cosmic maintenance, like paying the electricity bill for the universe. Number 4, the Oracle of Delphi's drug-fueled predictions. Now let's travel to ancient Greece. Imagine you're a king about to decide whether to invade your neighbor. You don't consult your generals. You don't check supply lines. Instead, you hike up a mountain to ask a woman sitting on a tripod in a smoky temple. That was the Oracle of Delphi. She wasn't just some fortune teller on the street corner. The Pythia, as she was called, was the spiritual hotline of the ancient world. People came from all over the Mediterranean: rich merchants, desperate farmers, even mighty kings. They would bring offerings, bow down, and beg her for guidance. Here's the weird part. For centuries, people thought she was channeling the gods, but science later discovered she was basically hotboxing herself. Her temple sat right on top of 2 fault lines. From those cracks, natural gases seeped out, especially ethylene. That's a chemical that in low doses causes euphoria, floating sensations, and vivid hallucinations. Basically a natural psychedelic leaking straight from the earth. Now picture this. The Pythia sits above the fissure, breathing in those sweet fumes. Her eyes glaze over, her body shakes, and she starts speaking in riddles. Priests standing by would translate her mumbles into official prophecy, and kings actually launched wars based on those drug-fueled whispers. For centuries, skeptics dismissed that as exaggeration, but when modern geologists tested the rocks around Delphi, they found traces of ethylene still trapped inside. The science lined up perfectly with the myths. Number 5, Viking ship burials. The Vikings knew how to make an exit. Elite warriors and leaders were buried in ships, sometimes even set on fire and pushed out to sea. The ship symbolized their journey to the afterlife, and the grave goods included weapons, food, and sometimes even sacrificed animals or slaves. In 834 AD, a famous Viking woman known as the Oseberg Queen was buried in a ship with tapestries, sleds, and even peacocks imported from Asia. It was like being buried in a luxury cruise liner stocked with everything you'd need for eternity. What's interesting is how global this ritual was. From Egypt to Polynesia, many cultures saw boats as vehicles to the afterlife. The Vikings just made it more metal. Number 6. The mystery of mummified monks. In Japan, some Buddhist monks practiced sakushinbutsu, or self-mummification. They followed a strict diet for years. They slowly starved and dehydrated themselves while meditating. In the end, they died, and their bodies naturally preserved. Why would anyone do this? They believed that by transcending physical needs, they could become living Buddhas after death, offering protection to their followers. Scientists who studied these mummies found that the diet included tree bark roots and even poisonous nuts that prevented bacteria from decaying the body. The process could take a decade, and only a few monks actually succeeded. The rest just rotted. Think about the willpower it takes. We can't even stick to a New Year's diet for 2 weeks. These guys literally dieted into eternity. Number 7, the dancing plague. Now for the weirdest ritual-like event in history. In 1518 in Strasbourg, hundreds of people started dancing uncontrollably in the streets. They danced for days, some collapsing from exhaustion, others literally dancing to death. At the time, people thought it was a curse or a ritual gone wrong. Modern scientists suggest mass hysteria or even ergot poisoning, a fungus on rye bread that causes hallucinations. Either way, the townspeople actually brought in musicians to help the dancers, which just made it worse. Imagine calling 911 today, and instead of an ambulance, they send a DJ. The dancing plague shows how powerful belief and social pressure can be. Once people thought they were cursed, the body followed. It's a reminder that rituals can spread like wildfire, even if nobody fully understands them. So there you have it, 7 rituals from the ancient and not-so-ancient world that prove humans have always been weird, creative, and just a little terrifying. From feeding yourself to vultures to dancing until you drop, our ancestors took rituals seriously. The real lesson: rituals are powerful because they shape how people see life, death, and the universe. And they remind us that what seems bizarre today might have been sacred or logical back then. So, which of these rituals freaked you out the most? Which one do you secretly think is kind of brilliant? Drop it in the comments, and if you're still here, hit that like button. 'Cause let's be honest, watching this video was way less scary than playing ancient Mayan basketball.